Hi guys, a very warm welcome to all of you in our YouTube channel Gurmantra Shiksha Ka Granth, and I am your educator Saranya, and it is our part 4 of animal biotechnology today. Okay, so let's see the concepts. Today we are going to deal with some of the important concepts like microcarrier and macrocarriers. These are the growth support for the adherent cells to grow. Okay, these are the growth support for the adherent cells to grow. These are very small concepts, but they are really important. Okay, so these support the growth of adherent cells. You know what is adherent cells? They need a medium to grow, to stick and grow. Adherence means attachment. Okay, adherence means attachment. Okay, so the cells will grow like this, attached to a surface and attached to each other in a medium. So these microcarrier and macrocarrier culture are the support material for the growth of adherent cells. So microcarrier size can be 125 to 250 micrometer sphere. Okay, example, you have DEAE dextrin, you have glass, polystyrene. Polystyrene is the most preferable material for the glasses which you are using, the tissue culture plates. Okay, the tissue culture plates like the T shaped culture flask which we already studied, those are actually made up of polystyrene material, and some can be made of acrylamide, collagen, alginate. One of the most common things among all of these materials is that they have pores. Okay, they have pores. Okay, for example, this is your material and it has pores like this on the surface, and the pores will have deep canal like this. Okay, they will have deep canal like this, connections which are from one to another. So your cells will be growing in these wells. These are the cells. For example, these are the cells. Your cells will be growing in these pores. Like a channel, it will be penetrating inside. They will be growing. So cells can penetrate into these channels and grow. So that is why it is called as the support material for the growth of adherent cells. Okay, so the common feature in all of this material is that they have pores, and inside these pores our cells can grow in layers. Okay, if you see, this is the surface, your cells are growing on top of this surface. Means here, let's say the surface area is A. Okay, surface area is A. Now for this diagram you can see the cells are growing on the surface also, they are penetrating inside the pores also. So the cells are covering a lot more surface area. That you can say, like for the surface alone, on the top alone it is A, plus inside we do not know the surface area, but let's say it is X value. Okay, this is only A, but this is A plus X because the surface area is more when pores are present. That's why the microcarrier and macrocarrier must have a very important characteristic, that is they should have pores. Okay, a microcarrier is a support matrix allowing the growth of adherent cells in bioreactors. What is bioreactors? Bioreactors are like fermenters. Okay, they are like fermenters where culturing of cells happens. Culturing of cells happens in the bioreactor. Okay, microcarriers are regularly used to grow protein producing or virus generating adherent cells population in the large scale commercial production of biologics, that is the proteins and the vaccines. So this is the application part of the microcarriers. Microcarriers are used for the large scale commercial production, okay, for the proteins and for vaccines. A liquid-based assembly method was developed by P. Chen et al., which means his colleagues also, for assembling cell-seeded microcarriers into diverse structure. Neuron-seeded microcarriers were assembled for formation of 3D neural networks which controlled global shape. Okay, it was in global shape. This method is potentially useful for tissue engineering. Tissue engineering means growing of tissue. This method is so much of use in tissue engineering, and this area of growing cells in the microcarriers is called as biomaterials, and these materials is called as scaffold, where you can grow your cells. Okay, they are called as scaffold. So what are the advantages of microcarriers? Scale up is very easy. You can have a very good control and on the growth of the cells. Incubation volume is less, and there is not much requirement of labors. Few people are enough for continuing this procedure. So there are two types of microcarrier culture. Okay, type 1 and type 2. In type 1, density of the microcarrier is greater than the culture media. So culture media will float, density of the microcarrier is more, so they will sink. Okay. So growth of the cells is sensitive to microcarrier concentration, agitation and oxygen. In this condition, the growth of the cell will be very sensitive to the concentration of microcarrier and how much agitation is happening in the bioreactor, and also the oxygen concentration. All of this will be a factor when the density of the microcarrier is more compared to the density of the culture media. The second is density of this microcarrier. Okay, so density of this microcarrier is less than or equal to the culture media. Okay, density of the microcarrier is less than or equal to culture media means they will be floating. So they will not have any limitations for the adherent cells. Since they will be floating, there will not be any problem. Okay, next we are going to understand about macrocarrier culture. So what is macrocarrier culture? So they are also a support matrix only, on top of which and underneath the pores, the cells will be growing, and the size is the difference between micro and macrocarrier. Okay, size in the macrocarrier will be 250 micrometers. Okay, advantages for this is oxygenation is very efficient because they are large in size, efficient nutrient exchange, and bioproduct yield is also high since microcarriers are smaller and macrocarriers are larger in size, and also they have so much of pores in them. The product yield will be very high. So you can see the structure of a matrix, this microcarrier and macrocarrier. You can see here, these are the matrix. The yellow color stick like structure is the carrier, and you can see in between them the cells are going. These are cells. Okay, can you see? These are the cells. These are the cells, how they are growing inside the matrix, your microcarrier. Okay, micro as well as macrocarrier. Exchange of nutrients will also take place. The nutrients will go inside, the cells will take up the nutrients for their growth and metabolism, and after that they will release the waste material that will be exchanged out. Okay, you can see this microcarrier is of 50 to 200 micrometer. Okay, that is all about microcarrier and macrocarrier. This concept is in your syllabus just for your information that such things also exist. These are different types of culture techniques. Usually you may think that there are only two types of cultures. One is adherent, which we perform in the tea flask, and the other one is suspension culture. But no, you have a lot of different kinds of cultures, and these are the commercially used cultures. Okay, the micro and the macro carrier. So our next topic is cryopreservation. Okay, cryopreservation. In the name itself, you have the meaning. What are we doing in this? We are preserving something. Okay, we are preserving something in the sub-zero conditions. Okay, cryopreservation is the method of keeping the live cells or tissues or any other biological sample in a deep freeze at the sub-zero temperature. Sub-zero means below 0 degrees Celsius for storage or preservation. The sample is commonly kept at minus 196 degrees Celsius at liquid nitrogen. Okay, liquid nitrogen. They will be kept in the liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius. At such low temperature, all the biological activities of the cell will cease. Okay, the cells will be alive, but its activities will cease and the cell will be preserved. Okay, they are saying at such low temperature, usually the cells will die, but in cryopreservation, the cells will not die. We will keep them in a conditions that the cells are alive. Okay, what is the difference? The cells, if we take below the sub-zero temperature itself, is dying. So what is actually happening in cryopreservation? Why is the cell not dying, and how is the cell dying in the sub-zero temperature? All of these questions you should be knowing. The first thing, why does cell die when they go in sub-zero conditions? The cell has water content, right? The cell has water content in the cytoplasm. So when you are taking the cell below the 0 degree where freezing point starts and the cell starts freezing, ice crystals will be formed. Okay, ice crystals will be formed inside the cell, which are very sharp needle like structure. They will actually pierce the cell and kill them. Okay, they will pierce the cell and kill them. This is what happens when you store the cells in a very, very low temperature. So what happens which is different in cryopreservation? Because in cryopreservation also we are storing the cells at minus 196 degrees Celsius, which is damn low, which is very, very low. So how are the cells still surviving? That we have to know. Okay, so the ice formation inside the cell can break the cell membrane. This can be prevented by regulating the freezing rate and carefully choosing the freezing medium. So there are two important things which is taken care of in the cryopreservation. One is the freezing rate and the other one is the freezing medium. So what is the freezing rate? It is the rate at which you start freezing your sample. Okay, how are you freezing your sample? At what rate? At what speed? At what temperature? All of this matter. Usually the temperature will be reduced 1 degree Celsius per minute. Okay, so this is how they decrease the temperature, 1 degree Celsius per minute. If they use this rate for freezing, then the cells will not form ice crystals. Second thing, the freezing medium. What is present in freezing medium? Like you have glycerol, or you will have DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. Okay, you can note down the full form also, dimethyl sulfoxide. Glycerol and DMSO are used in the freezing medium. What this will do is it will lower the freezing point. Okay, it will lower the freezing point such that the cells will not form ice crystals. The cells will not form ice crystals because of this. If it is only water present in the medium, it will form ice crystals. Since this glycerol and DMSO are very viscous in nature, their freezing point is very low. Okay, so at this rate and at this medium, your cells will be alive. They will be in a frozen state, but they will not form ice crystals at all. Okay, you have to remember these 2 points important in cryopreservation. They can ask you this in PhD interviews also. What are the two important criteria for cryopreservation? You are going to control the freezing rate at 1 degree Celsius per minute, and by choosing the careful medium, freezing medium, where you will have glycerol and DMSO. Okay, either of it can be used. So cryopreservation means cold preservation. Cryo means cold, preservation means, storage for a very long period of time. So cryopreservation can be done to store the cells for more than 20 years also. And the temperature will be minus 190 degrees Celsius, and the most important cryoprotectant will be your liquid nitrogen. Example: embryos, oocytes, spermatozoa, ovarian tissues can be preserved in cryopreservation technique. And what are the advantages of the cryopreservation technique? First one, it is a very effective preservation method. So far till now there has been no other method which can replace cryopreservation. That kind of a revolutionizing technology it is. No method has been discovered so far which can replace cryopreservation. Amazing it is. Okay, so it is also used for long term storage, safety from contamination and disease. All of this can be taken care in cryopreservation. So next is cryoprotectants. So cryoprotectants are used in the cryopreservation technique to protect the cells from the crystal formation. I told you, right? Ice crystal formation in the liquid nitrogen. For that you can use glycerol, DMSO, you can use PEG also. DMSO is dimethyl sulfoxide, PEG is polyethylene glycol. You should know these terms because these are very commonly used liquids. Okay, it should be easily penetrate into the cells, and it should be miscible with the water, which means they are organic in nature. Okay, so what is the procedure which we actually follow for the cryopreservation? First, you're going to collect the sample in a sterile container. Next, you're going to add cryoprotectants. And what are the cryoprotectants? You know glycerol, you know DMSO. You can also use PEG, like 10 to 20% you can use. After mixing the sample with the cryoprotectants, you're going to do slow freezing. The most important concept of cryopreservation is your slow freezing. You're going to freeze the cells like 1 to 1.5 degree Celsius. Mostly they will do 1 degree Celsius per minute, lowering. Okay, they are lowering the temperature 1 degree Celsius per minute from 20 degrees to minus 80. Okay, from 20 degrees to minus 80. After that you will do rapid freezing. Okay, that is you will lower 6 degrees Celsius per minute from minus 80 degrees Celsius to minus 196 degrees Celsius. Okay, after that you will store it in a container. You should be very careful when you are using liquid nitrogen. If you actually keep your finger inside the liquid nitrogen container, your finger will be cut off. It is of no use at all the cells will die. Okay, that is why we are using cryoprotectants, and you cannot store yourself in that. You will actually die. So don't, when you're using these cryopreservation techniques, please wear your gloves. They have special gloves for that, and mask will be there. Don't put your hand inside the liquid nitrogen. That is a very dangerous thing to do. Since we are research minded people, we always have some kind of knacks we will be doing just for the sake of fun, like experimenting. So some of you guys might actually put your finger inside the liquid nitrogen, and yes, the finger is lost forever. Okay, so the steps in cryopreservation. First, you're going to harvest your material, that is your sample. Okay, you're going to harvest this sample, then you're going to add the cryoprotectant which is required along with the media, along with the growth media. Then you will start freezing. First is low freezing, that is 1 degree Celsius per minute till minus 80 degrees Celsius. Then you will go for fast freezing. You will reduce 6 degrees Celsius per minute from minus 80 degrees Celsius to minus 196 degrees Celsius. Okay, then you will keep it in the liquid nitrogen. Okay, liquid nitrogen will maintain the temperature at minus 196 degrees Celsius. Thawing. What is thawing? After you have stored the sample, you want to revive the sample and use it for your purpose. For that you are going to do thawing. Okay, always remember, freezing should be slow freezing, thawing should be very quick. Okay, the biological sample which you have kept in the cryopreservation, that you're going to take and keep it in a water bath at 37 degrees Celsius. Quick thawing, slow freezing. Okay, remember these terms. So what is the benefit of cryopreservation? First, it is very much used in fertility treatments where the sperm or the ova is actually stored for a female and a male. When they are ready to have a baby, they can use this sample and conceive. Minimal space and labor requirements, and this procedure is called as in vitro fertilization. Okay, next, minimal space and labor is required. Safety from genetic contaminations, safeguards genetic integrity of the valuable strains. When the cells are in the cryopreservation, no mutation can happen. Okay, so that is the genetic integrity is safe. Safeguards the germ plasm of the endangered species. You can actually collect the germ plasm. Germ plasm means the sperm and the ova of the endangered species, and you can do in vitro fertilization for them. Okay. Next, you have biological samples can be preserved for a very long period of time, protects the sample from disease and microbial contamination, prevents genetic drift by cryopreservation of gametes and embryos. So application of cryopreservation, basically it can be used as a seed bank. You can store your seeds, gene bank, blood transfusion, in vitro fertilization, organ transplantation, artificial insemination is done in animals. Okay, where the semen of very healthy and good hardworking male animal will be saved, and it will be actually transferred into the female, and the female will get pregnant and will give birth to a child which will have all the characteristics of the father. Okay, not all, but yeah, 50%, you know what I'm saying, right? Next, storage of rare germplasm, which, like for example, endangered or vulnerable species, freezing of the cell culture materials, conservation of the endangered plant species, biodiversity conservation, all of this. Basically, this can be used in a good way in the cryopreservation for ecological purposes. Okay, so that is all for you guys today. Next class, I think it will be the last class for your animal biotechnology. Then we'll hop on to genetics. Okay, so if you are a CSIRNet aspirant and are interested in subscribing for Unacademy, you can do that and follow Neha Taneja ma'am. What are the benefits you get? You get daily classes, structured courses, live tests and quizzes, and unlimited access. And this is your pricing. And for getting 10% off, you have to use the code Neha. Like, share and subscribe, and also comment in our videos. Okay, to our YouTube channel Gurmantra Shiksha Ka Granth. You can contact us anytime you want in the email ID tanejanehaofficial@gmail.com, or you can simply call us. We are actually here for you. So thank you so much guys. Have a nice day. Keep preparing, okay, and always be smiling. Don't stress over anything. Keep preparing, always be happy. Okay.